The A-4 Skyhawk, a rugged breed, proving once again in the skies over Southeast Asia its reputation as one of the most valuable tactical aircraft now in service. Skyhawks, first-line light attack aircraft for the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps, capable of delivering all tactical weapons. Operating from land bases and from offshore carriers, the Skyhawk has repeatedly demonstrated its ruggedness and versatility as a ground support aircraft, performing a large percentage of all Navy and Marine attack missions during several years of combat. High operational availability has been a prime virtue of the Skyhawk. In Southeast Asia, availability has averaged well over 80% for operating aircraft. Inherent in the Skyhawk design is ease of maintenance at low cost. Whether to repair combat damage or for overhaul, the airplane can be dismantled easily into 4 major sections. Today's Douglas A-4 Skyhawk evolved from years of operational experience. It was conceived as a simple, lightweight, carrier-based aircraft capable of carrying heavy ordnance payloads at high subsonic speeds, a unique design concept in a field where jet combat planes are generally becoming larger, more complex, and more expensive. Throughout 6 major model changes, the Skyhawk has kept pace with ever-changing, ever-growing tactical requirements. A continuing $200 million improvement program has made today's Skyhawk a modern, integrated weapon system. Avionics capability has kept pace with increased weapons delivery requirements. To accommodate new weapon capabilities, store stations have been increased from 3 to 5. And over the years, many aerodynamic and structural improvements have been made. Power plant growth has paralleled these improvements. In this model, 20% more thrust than early model Skyhawks. Improved maneuverability and acceleration. This is the A-4F, a weapon system proven in combat. Sharing these advanced capabilities with the A-4F is a 2-place version, the T-A-4F. It combines the features of combat Skyhawks with new trainer capabilities. Its full combat capabilities are used in forward air controller missions, armed reconnaissance, as well as for combat training. The TA-4J, the advanced jet trainer, a lower cost, simplified derivative of the TA-4F, designed for advanced jet training of student pilots. Both cockpits have flight controls and instruments for all-weather flight training. And to meet the challenge of the 70s, the newest member of the Skyhawk series, the A-4M. 20% more power than the A-4F, greatly increased maneuverability, greater combat effectiveness. The key to these expanded capabilities? The improved Pratt & Whitney J52 engine, the P408, delivering 11,200 pounds of thrust. With nearly 2,000 pounds more thrust, the A-4M requires 1,500 to 2,500 feet less runway, 50% greater rate of climb, 50 knots faster, 100% greater maneuverability, 23% better longitudinal acceleration. This major expansion of the Skyhawk's operational flight envelope, together with the high inherent strength of the A-4 design, greatly improves its already excellent combat survivability. Also new in the A4M Skyhawk is the enlarged cockpit enclosure, providing greater head clearance and freedom of movement. The larger canopy with a windscreen similar to the two-place Skyhawk greatly increases pilot visibility for search and target acquisition. The addition of the dorsal pod, standard on late model A4s, provides additional space for the latest avionics equipment. Firepower of the two 20-millimeter cannons has been doubled, from 200 to 400 rounds. A new sight, accurately bore-sighted, adaptable to gyro-stabilized lead computing and ranging for improved weapons delivery accuracy. With full ordnance load, the smokeless A4M reaches high subsonic speeds at low altitude. Wing lift spoilers improve its crosswind landings. With the new drag chute and spoilers, landing rollout is greatly reduced, resulting in a true operational short field capability for the Skyhawk. Ground handling is greatly facilitated by the steerable nose wheel. But it is in the air that the true worth of any tactical aircraft is demonstrated. Among military aircraft, the Skyhawk has achieved an outstanding record of safety and survivability in over a decade of operational service. Its dual hydraulic-powered flight controls are backed up by manual controls. Emergency free fall of the landing gear is provided. The latest model Douglas escape pack ejection system provides escape throughout the flight envelope, including zero speed and zero altitude. The availability of the A4M as a leading tactical aircraft in the 70s is assured by an established production line for both single and two-place Skyhawks. The proven effectiveness of the Skyhawk design, the new and growing capabilities which continue to be added to it, have made it a first-line attack aircraft, not only for the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, but also for the air forces of 4 other nations of the free world. With the full product support of McDonnell Douglas, the Skyhawk is and will continue to be a most formidable weapon system for today and tomorrow.
Here is the familiar hawk, lean, strong, and swift. Its rhythm and grace are beautiful to watch, yet it is deadly and accurate. For its very well-being is dependent upon its ability to maneuver crisply and strike with the speed of lightning. Here is another hawk, the Douglas Skyhawk, also familiar for its lean, powerful, and graceful performance. It too is deadly and accurate, and like its namesake, carries no excess weight, no frills unnecessary to its function as an attack bomber. Its size, weight, and design simplicity startled the aviation world. The versatility, reliability, and tremendous firepower has made the Douglas Skyhawk the most outstanding attack bomber in the world today. The A4D Skyhawk, or DA-101 as the export version is called, is an extremely small, high-performance, high-payload military attack bomber. The Skyhawk is so small, it can be stored on carriers without folding its wings. So fast that it can operate as a fighter. And so powerful, it carries a bigger striking load farther and faster than any airplane of its size. It is only 39 feet in length, with a wingspan of 27.5 feet and a height of 15 feet. The weight of the aircraft is 15,000 pounds. It is powered by one Wright J-65 turbojet with a thrust of 7,700 pounds. The Skyhawk is the result of Douglas's long experience in the designing and building of all types of combat aircraft. Its revolutionary design is the outcome of a new Douglas design philosophy. It was this reasoning that brought the Skyhawk into being. It was this departure that furnishes more performance per pound of airplane. One of the first steps taken was to simplify and conventionalize the fuselage structure for ease of field maintenance and for ease of manufacture. As well, considerable weight saving was effected through the reduction in the number of joints in these structural members. A novel design approach was used on the cockpit. All internal stiffeners were eliminated, and the external skin used as the strengthening agent. This approach lessens the overall weight and furnishes maximum internal space with minimum external shape. Another example is the method of attaching the wing and landing gear to the fuselage through the use of an attach fitting integrally machined with the spars. However, a classical example of obtaining the highest possible utility from the structural design is the wing. An obvious proof of the compounding value of the weight-saving program is displayed in the small, modified delta wing surface. Because of the reduction in airframe weight, it became possible to reduce the wing size. An added dividend because of its small size was the elimination of the need for wing folding mechanism. Needless to state, this elimination created an additional saving in weight, plus the added factor of considerable savings in costs and personnel. To further save space with resultant weight reduction, the design of the small wing provided for the use of the internal wing structure for integral fuel tanks. Thus, a secondary function was achieved without disturbing the primary purpose. Another example is the use of strong points in fuselage design to provide attach points for high-load carrying devices. The efficient structural design permitted the arresting hook to be carried directly into the fuselage longerons. Again, the result was effective weight saving and lower cost. Reliability of structures and components was given major consideration during the concentration on lightweight design. Very high reliability percentage was achieved through simplicity rather than by excessive strengthening practices. It should be noted that concurrent with structural weight elimination, all internal systems and their components were miniaturized and thus lightened without loss of performance capability and with further savings in costs. The ejection system incorporates all the necessary safety features proven during Douglas's long experience. The system was designed to be especially lightweight, weighing approximately 50% less than systems in general use, and is proven to be extremely rugged and capable of withstanding high G-loads. The Douglas designed system is fully automatic and provides reliable escape even from ground level. And in addition, the system contributes much to the aircraft performance through its light weight, and as well provides for a low maintenance rate and maximum reliability through the greatly simplified design and mechanical function. As a result, the A-4D Skyhawk suffered no strength restrictions because of these economies and size reductions. The aircraft has, in fact, emerged as an extremely rugged end product, a fact which has been proven during actual operational conditions. Function has ruled rather than redundant bulk. Seeing is believing. The Skyhawk is a small aircraft, but immediately the question arises, what about the payload? Here is the tremendous arsenal carried by the Skyhawk. Here are weapons for every tactical situation, as well as tools for mobility and range when desired. Here is a payload available in single-type loading or in combined loading. The versatility, the interchangeability, assures the right weapons for a given job. Smaller weapons are arranged under the strong, rugged wing. Lightweight bombs, rockets, napalm tanks, and gun installations. To facilitate centerline under-fuselage loading of external stores, the landing gear was designed with extraordinary ground clearance. This permits the larger bombs to be carried in a position that avoids asymmetrical flight characteristics. In addition, the high ground clearance permits the pilot to land the aircraft with these large stores when a mission is aborted or the stores unused. An excellent example of the benefits of the added ground clearance is the capability of attaching large fuel tanks along the fuselage center line. This enables the Skyhawk to be converted into an in-squadron tanker aircraft. The underside tanks and associated transfer equipment greatly extend the jet squadron operation. In addition, it permits rapid deployment and furnishes the opportunity for a highly mobile force wherever long-distance moves are required. The refueling system is a complete powered system capable of containing and transferring 300 gallons of jet fuel. More fuel can be drawn from the aircraft main tanks should additional supply be required. The tremendous economy inherent because of this innovation is readily apparent. The high cost of maintaining expensive tanker aircraft is avoided, and the lag time usually required to schedule and arrange rendezvous with the tankers is non-existent. Thus, it can be seen that economy is foremost in the Skyhawk. Its small size, its tremendous payload, its versatility of external loading, all lend toward making it the most practical ground support attack bomber for the coming years. What do these economies, these successes in functional design, mean in the actual costs? They mean a defense budget saving of better than 50%, or in terms of defense units, twice the number of aircraft for the same expenditure of defense budget. Maintenance and manpower requirements are also areas where costs and performance efficiency can be increased or decreased. The basic design philosophy has taken these areas into consideration. The simplicity engineered into the aircraft has reduced per-flight man-hour maintenance requirements to less than that of any other first-line aircraft. The Skyhawk has an exceptionally high availability rating. The high availability rate is obtained with minimum manpower per aircraft. It should be noted that the high operational availability time and reduced maintenance manpower is another highly desirable saving in operation costs. The simplicity of the design permits 4 bolted sections to separate into 4 individual units for inspection or major repair, as the case may be. The forward fuselage, the wing, which is rarely removed, the engine, and the rear fuselage. Each of 3 sections can be stocked as completely unitized replacement items. The sections are interchangeable between aircraft, thus considerably reducing the downtime of an aircraft. The ease of accessibility to internal systems permits inspection and repairs to be accomplished at the airplane or separately at a workbench in a shop. Access hatches for the electronic system, the electrical system, and the hydraulic system are plentiful and easily removed. It should be noted that the wing is never removed during the maintenance or storage phase. However, it is detachable should major repair or replacement be required. In fact, aircraft storage in limited facilities, such as those within small carriers, is a highly desirable feature of the A4D design. Access to the engine for inspection and repair is another carefully planned design feature. The J65 turbojet engine is a subsystem in itself, having systems for exhaust, engine controls, as well as provisions for other engine-driven accessories. These systems, too, are readily accessible. An outstanding dividend of this type design is the minimum amount of time necessary for engine change. With a complete engine stocked as a replacement part, a new engine can be installed in approximately 16 man-hours. The value of this innovation to aircraft availability rate is certainly apparent. As with the other major disassemblies, the tail fuselage section also lends itself to minimum effort for maintenance and repair. Accessibility to control components, engine tailpipe, and speed brake mechanisms present no time or workspace problems. The fuselage section is also mobile and can be serviced in dispersed areas or in integrated maintenance areas. The great number of design simplifications carefully engineered to lessen maintenance and overhaul procedures are positive assurance of increased operational availability of squadron aircraft. Although considerable thought and planning have been given to economy in cost and aircraft servicing and their relative importance recognized, the final judgment rests with the combat effectiveness of the weapon itself. The single-engine, single-place A-4D attack bomber possesses the rugged performance qualities traditional with all aircraft designed and developed by the Douglas Company. It is effective as a land-based weapon for its exceptional performance qualities such as low stall speed, maneuverability, large payload, and long range have made it the major weapon for providing close air support to ground troops. Its versatility and reliability in carrier operations have made it a standard weapon for carrier tactical missions. The Skyhawk can be readily operated from the smaller type carriers. The A-4D has remarkable versatility of range because of the variety of fuel tank configurations. With the internal tanks, the combat radius is 400 nautical miles. With external wing tanks, the radius is more than doubled. And with in-flight refueling, its range is further extended. The performance of the Skyhawk, its speeds, ranges, and altitudes obtainable are so flexible as to be militarily significant only in relation to the combat loading and flight plan for each particular mission. The A-4D Skyhawk has the proven capability for versatile delivery of modern offensive and defensive weapons. It is a dive bomber for surface attacks or for ground strafing. It is a ground support aircraft with a range, speed, and weapon load to provide maximum assistance to ground troops. Over sea or over land, the Skyhawk attack bomber has highly effective fighter capabilities in given intercept situations. Its military payload and range can be utilized for long-range strategic bombing operations against distant objectives. Its maneuverability permits it to exercise bomb-tossing techniques or bomb lofting delivery, where repercussion effects may be dangerous to the attacking aircraft. Provisions are available which make the A-4D Skyhawk a proven all-weather weapon system to fulfill its mission demands regardless of conditions. Its armament versatility makes it an ideal weapon for police actions or local conflicts. The Skyhawk is in quantity production. It has designed-in reliability. It may be purchased in effective numbers within a reasonable defense budget. For more defense power is available within the same budget amount. With the A-4D or DA-101, there is speed, range, versatility, and mighty firepower. It is economical in operation and has a high combat availability. It is the airplane that startled the aviation world when it appeared, and has maintained its position as the most versatile attack bomber in the world today. It is the mighty midget, the Douglas Skyhawk.
These are some of the machines responsible for the expression, flying by the seat of your pants. The early pioneers had a lot of courage and a lot of faith. I'm not sure whether they all had crash crews, but if anybody ever needed them, they did. Of course, their flying machines were pretty flimsy, and when they did run into trouble, it was a simple matter to untangle them from the wreckage. Today's crash rescue crews have a much more complicated job than those pioneers had. Modern jets are rugged and complex, and while there are a lot of similarities between all high-performance jets, each has its own characteristics. Most crews know all there is to know about their own aircraft. They know what incidents to watch for that could lead to a crash, such as sparks or skidding, excessive braking, or erratic maneuvers. And if they did have to make a rescue from the familiar aircraft, it would be fast and efficient. But what about unfamiliar aircraft? With the range and speed of today's aircraft, you never know when you're going to get an unfamiliar airplane. You can get a lot out of the firefighting and rescue manual, but the best way is to take every opportunity to check out the visitor. Most aviators will be glad to take a couple of minutes to show you the peculiarities of their airplane. As with all aircraft, the TA-4F or J has certain danger areas that must be remembered. Since fire protection is based upon the airplane's maximum gross takeoff weight, the various fuel loading capabilities must be known. Internally, the TA-4F or J contains a large wing tank with a capacity of 570 gallons and a fuselage tank located behind the aft cockpit with a capacity of 109 gallons. The TA-4 usually flies with two 300-gallon external drop tanks on the outboard wing racks. A 400-gallon drop tank may be accommodated on the centerline rack only. Normally, takeoffs are made with a short load of 1,000 gallons, which amounts to about 6,500 pounds. Maximum takeoff fuel weight for this airplane is 8,000 pounds. Normal fuel load on landing can vary from 1,000 pounds, or 150 gallons, to 3,000 pounds, which amounts to 450 gallons. It should be noted that the drop tanks are exceptionally strong on this airplane, and it can make a wheels-up landing on the tanks. Fuel tanks will always have some fuel remaining, as well as ample space for fumes. The drop tanks are normally pressurized for landing, but in case of an emergency, they can be depressurized by the pilot. As for hazard areas, on TA-4 aircraft, the jet engine inlet is located behind the aft cockpit on each side of the fuselage. The danger area extends out at least 10 feet with the engine at full power. The engine exhaust can cause severe burns and blast damage at ranges from 60 to 150 feet, depending upon engine power. The turbine blade danger area is situated about mid-fuselage. Engine improvements have reduced blade failures, but a foreign object sucked into the inlet could cause the blades to disintegrate. The jettison danger area for the canopy is normally aft of the cockpits and includes the entire fuselage area out to about 6 feet on either side, although wind and the angle of the fuselage will affect the danger area. The seat ejection danger area is forward of the airplane. The seats can be ejected at ground level and at 0 speed. This airplane has no anti-skid system, and if a maximum braking stop is made, there may be a danger area near each wheel due to hot brakes. The safest area when working around an airplane with suspected hot brakes is directly in front of or behind the tire assemblies. Safety pins carried in a bag stowed in the aft engine access door should be used to prevent accidental retraction of the landing gear. The LOX tank on the TA-4 is located in the aft section of the fuselage on the starboard side. The TA-4J does not have a smoke abatement system, so this is not a hazard. Weapons being carried are, of course, always an extreme hazard, and the TA-4F or J can carry a wide assortment. These are carried on pylons mounted under the wings or on the centerline pylon. It must be remembered that a bomb rack contains an explosive separation device that could cook off in a fire, so that these areas should be avoided. With multiple bomb loads, there is an explosive separation device for each bomb. This is also true of the drop tank pylons. The TA-4F carries two 20-millimeter guns. The training TA-4J will normally have the port gun removed to lighten the airplane. The guns are mounted in the wing roots, and their muzzles can be seen. The firing zone is, of course, directly in front of each gun. The approach to a TA-4 after a crash is like that for any other airplane, taking into consideration its special danger areas. If the engine is running, it's a good idea to give the pilot the cutoff sign. He might be dazed but not unconscious, and possibly could respond. If the airplane is surrounded by flames, you'll have to clear a way in using standard procedures. That will be the MB-5, using light water. The cockpit area, of course, should be kept cool, not only to protect the crewmen, but to prevent cook-off of the ejection rockets in the seats. If the engine is running and the pilot does not respond to the cutoff sign, on this airplane the engine can be stopped by climbing on the wing and using the port engine access door to reach the throttle bell crank. Turning the bell crank counterclockwise reduces the engine to idle. By cutting the rods here and here, the bell crank can be rotated far enough to shut the engine off. Since it is always hazardous to jettison a canopy, a normal entry should always be made, if at all possible. To open the canopy manually, the TA-4 has an exterior canopy control access door located on the port side below the forward cockpit. Inside the door on some TA-4s is an override external latch handle. This unlocks the rifle bolt locking mechanism in the cockpit. Pull down the external canopy control handle, then swing it all the way outboard. Extend the pump handle and pump the canopy open. This should take about 50 strokes. If the canopy can be pumped open, it means that the hydraulic system is intact and that once open, the canopy will stay open. In the event forcible entry is required, the canopy should be chopped through close to the metal frame. Using a power saw is faster and does not leave jagged edges, but it should only be used when there is no danger from spilled fuel. Notice that the canopy on this airplane has a center bar. This makes it almost impossible to remove a crewman through the canopy. and a forcible entry should not be made if there is any other way to safely remove the canopy. But if the situation demands that the canopy be jettisoned, an external emergency jettison handle is located on each side of the fuselage about midway between the two cockpits. Even so, jettisoning the canopy should be the last resort, and never if either crewman's face curtain has been pulled. The handle is held by a latch. Pushing the latch panel releases the handle. To operate, the handle is pulled hard to the full length of the lanyard, about 6 inches. Remember that when the canopy is jettisoned, it arms the seat ejection system, and the seat ejection system must be safetied before working in the cockpit. Each of the seats must be safetied by means of a head knocker located behind each crewman's head. Pull the head knocker down until the safety lock catches. This completely safeties the seat's ejection system. The head knocker will not raise until the safety lock is manually depressed. Remember, when reaching in the cockpit, do not pull the face curtain ejection handle. And do not pull the secondary ejection handle. If either crewman is unconscious, it is possible he may not be receiving oxygen, and you must quickly prevent suffocation by removing his oxygen mask. Raise the sun visor on his helmet. Unfasten the crewman's oxygen mask. You should have memorized the 3 types of fasteners so that whichever type he's wearing will be totally familiar. Do not remove the helmet.
And do not kiss the pilot.
To shut off the flow of oxygen, disconnect the oxygen hose by means of a slip ring which operates by sliding the ring up and pulling on the hose. Warning: do not disconnect or cut the oxygen hose until after the oxygen mask is removed, since this would automatically cut off the crewman's only source of oxygen and air. If the engine is still running, it should be shut off before beginning the next phase of the rescue. On the TA-4, a throttle is located in each cockpit, but only the forward throttle can be used to shut the engine off. The throttle is pulled aft to the idle position, then outboard past a detent and all the way aft. Both cockpits have a manual fuel shutoff lever located aft of the throttle against the bulkhead. This lever can be used to shut off the engine. The lever has a spring-loaded safety cover that must be lifted before it can be pulled fully aft to the emergency off detent. Before the crewman can be rescued, his parachute must be unbuckled from his harness assembly. The 2 hip coke fittings are first disconnected. They may be difficult to see because of the crewman's survival gear. Coke fittings on Navy parachutes operate by lifting the locking latch upward and with the same motion rotating the knurled locking bar downward. Normally, the fittings will now separate. If they do not, then separate manually. When disconnecting the 2 shoulder fittings, be careful not to pull the parachute D-ring. Coke fittings used by the Air Force are slightly different, but they operate in much the same manner. If necessary, the parachute harness can be cut with a rescue knife. As a last resort, the crewman can be released from the seat by pulling the emergency harness release handle. But this leaves 60 pounds of parachute and survival gear attached to the crewman, and it's extremely difficult to lift him from the cockpit. Before lifting the crewman, disconnect the G-suit and seat pan hoses by pulling. The crewman is now ready to be lifted from the cockpit. It's a 2-man job. The best method is for one man to straddle the nose or to stand on the edges of the cockpit, while the second man remains on the ground or on a ladder. This operation on a TA-4 is much the same as for all high-performance jets and should be practiced from time to time by all crash crewmen. When the gear is down, the cockpit is several feet above the ground, and air crewmen as well as crash crewmen have been seriously injured when they fell, so caution must be used. If time is available, after the crewmen have been rescued, safety pins can be inserted. These pins should be carried by all crash crews. Safetying should include the canopy jettison handles in each cockpit. If the canopy is blown, put the pins in anyway, because one or both of the canopy initiators may not have been fired. The seat ejector initiators should also be safetied in each cockpit. If not already done, the safety pins should be inserted in the landing gear. Safety pins also should be inserted in the bomb racks and fuel tank racks. A down tail hook should be lifted and secured before the airplane is moved. In case the crewmen are trapped in an inverted airplane, the nose must be lifted before the canopy can be opened. If the nose wheel is extended, the crane should be hooked to the strut tie-down ring in the nose wheel well. If the wheel is not extended, it may be necessary to cut through the door or the fuselage and make the attachment to any strong structural member. If a crane is not quickly available, it may be possible to partially raise the airplane by means of heavy-duty jacks. As a last resort, dig under the canopy, although the length of the TA-4 canopy makes it difficult to open by this method. Chopping through the side of the fuselage is almost impossible, but it is possible to chop through the canopy. When it comes to the actual fighting of fires on the TA-4F or J, one particular point should be remembered. Almost the total wing area of this airplane is wet and should not be ruptured or penetrated in any way. Except for the wing and fuselage tank areas, this airplane can be penetrated almost anywhere with a bayonet nozzle. To sum the whole thing up, it does take a certain amount of time and trouble to check out an unfamiliar airplane, both for the air crewman and the crash crewman. It's obvious why the air crewman should not mind taking the time, but about the only motive the crash crewman has is his own sense of responsibility and pride in his crew and in himself. When the time comes, he wants to do everything he can to get the man out of that airplane fast and with a minimum of danger to himself. The only way to do this is by knowing in advance exactly what you're going to do. And maybe those early day crash crews did have an easier time making a rescue. But for the modern jet, we need today's highly trained and dedicated crash crewmen. When it comes to the rescue of air crews, there is no substitute for the vital work of a Navy crash crew.